Hello everyone and welcome back to r/Fatlogic, and I just want to say thank you so much for 200 subscribers. This is the fastest growth I've ever experienced on a YouTube channel and the most engagement I've ever experienced on a YouTube channel. I am still catching up with comments. It's kind of amazing for me. I mean, I know on the grand scheme of things I'm a small channel. Like, I totally get that. But I've never had this level of success and growth in such a short period of time. And I'm just, like, over the moon about it. And I'm so excited. So thank you so much for everyone that's commented, everyone that's subscribed, everyone that watches my videos. Thank you so, so much. I have gotten a little bit of constructive criticism, and I do want to be pretty clear that, one, I am not a medical professional. All of my comments here are made based on my own personal observations and personal experience. So please take that with a grain of salt, and two, I don't mean to invalidate any, like, legitimate complaints. I tend to be much harder on the Fatlogic people because I've seen so many of them have this victim mentality where nothing is their fault, and so my commentary tends to skew in the opposite direction. But without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to our content. There's this thing that happens when a pregnant person is malnourished through a pregnancy that causes the baby to have a metabolism that's programmed to retain fat because the body is preparing for a life with little food. This can happen if the mother was dieting during pregnancy. Nope. 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 It doesn't really work like that. I'm not saying that malnutrition doesn't affect a fetus in the womb. It does. In general, I believe if the baby will probably take as much as it can from, like, the mother's body, and that's why it's super important to have more calcium and iron and stuff, because it can affect the mother's body. Doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to not be malnourished at birth. That is a possibility. But I don't think dieting, especially like a safe diet with a nutritionist and a medical field behind it, or not medical field, but medical professionals behind it, is going to immediately lead your child to have a slow metabolism. Like, that's not really how that works. Nothing that I've seen with humans tends to be more malleable than the ability to change your weight. Now, metabolism is a factor in that for sure. I don't think that dieting during pregnancy would automatically lead to slow metabolism. I'd like to see some fucking studies on that bullshit. But there's a variety of things that would affect the metabolism, that would affect the baby's future weight. And the body is nothing if not adaptable. Research shows fat people generally don't eat more than thin people. So while this is a great topic, it's not relevant to the issue at hand. I'm not sure if that's in response to the last one, because these were numbered because this person, like, saw these comments and it bothered them, but I don't know if this is part of the same conversation. But I do find it's like research shows fat people generally don't eat more than thin people. That is... What research are you referring to? I'd like to know what research you're referring to, because that's generally not the case. Like, I'm guessing your research is your basic observation where you see thin people at a restaurant eating a lot, without realizing that they either are exceptionally more active than you are, or they don't typically eat like that. This is kind of a regular argument that we see, that fat people eat just as much as thin people, they work out the same, and then they can still be fat. And I'm sorry, but no, that's not how the body works. Like, there's probably definitely, like, a range of people that do the same thing with the of people that do the same level of activity while eating the same amount of calories, and there can still be a little bit of a range of weight, especially if the heights are different, but let's pretend that the heights are all the same. Generally, depending on how the body processes those calories, it could be like a slight variation, but there isn't going to be like a huge 50-pound difference between the individuals. That just doesn't happen. If you're talking about added sugar, sugar isn't bad, nor is it addictive. The diet culture is a $66 billion industry. Okay, we're actually going to take this as we go. Sugar is addictive. It's not, I don't think it's as addictive as, say, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, that sort of thing. I don't think it necessarily has the same addictive factor as those things, but it definitely does have an addictive quality to it. It is addictive. And if you're going to call out the diet culture $66 billion industry, if you want to call that out, let's call out the fucking sugar industry that had many studies done for the sake of proving that sugar was okay and demonizing fat content and fat as the responsibility for America's growing waistlines. Like, it was the sugar industry. It was the sugar that is put in fucking everything now because everyone demonized fat. And I mean, like, nutritional fat. And then when you take out fat, you take out flavor. So they had to put more flavor in via sugar. So the sugar industry just grew. And now there's sugar in fucking everything. Diabetes is another epidemic in our country. Sugar is absolutely addictive, as is food in general. That's an interesting one. I don't know if I would call food in general addictive. Like, it's hard because we need food to live. It does set off, I guess it could be, well, I mean, there are people that are addicted to food and, like, eat massive portions, so I guess that's true. I could see that. It just feels weird to put a necessity as an addiction, but I guess most things can be addiction if you try hard enough. You don't have withdrawals like you do with other substances. You don't even get withdrawals from weed. It has addictive qualities. I don't really understand why they're bringing weed in when we're talking about sugar and food. You can get addicted to weed. It sets off the pleasure centers of the brain. You absolutely can get addicted to it. And you can suffer withdrawals from sugar. It's not like life-threatening withdrawals the way it is for alcohol and other substances. That's true, but you absolutely can get withdrawals. The general, if you're used to eating a lot of sugar, a general sluggish feeling is possible early on. Like serious cravings for sugar is something that can happen. I don't know, because I always reduced my sugar intake gradually because I knew how hard it was to just quit sugar cold turkey, which it lends to its addictive nature. And I'm still not very good at monitoring my sugar consumption. I still overeat on sugar because it does have, like, addictive qualities to it. When I quit sugar cold turkey, it came with headaches and mood swings, like coming off an antidepressant, and cravings that take over my whole focus. So, I wasn't aware of the headaches and mood swings, but I never went cold turkey. I know that headaches and mood swings are side effects of, like, caffeine addiction when you're trying to lower your... My sister actually went through that because she would drink a massive amount of caffeine every day, and then at one point she tried to go cold turkey, and this is what happened. So yeah, you can get withdrawals. It's an addiction. Everyone reacts differently to things. No. You don't get nausea, vomiting, sweats, hallucinations. You may crave it, but that's it. That's kind of a narrow view of withdrawal. Nausea, vomiting. You can, I think, get nausea from taking out sugar or caffeine. I think that's something that can happen. I'll admit I've never seen vomiting, sweats, hallucinations, but I think that is more with harder substances. Like, sugar, if you had to look at it as a drug across the spectrum of things, it probably has lower withdrawal effects. Because ultimately, your body works with it a little bit better than it does with alcohol. Oh, are you a doctor? Better yet, are you my doctor? No? Then you don't know anything about me or my symptoms, but thanks for playing. Nope, but you can look up symptoms of withdrawal from a substance. The most you get from sugar is a headache. So now you're acknowledging the headache, at least. But there's degrees of withdrawal. I'm just repeating myself at this point. There's no point in getting through to this person. They want to view... I don't really get the people that view all food as this precious thing that can't be criticized at all, especially in our culture where everything is engineered. Like, it's not natural food. A lot of it isn't natural food. It's engineered food designed for you to eat a lot of it. And sugar is one of those culprits. And I can't. We're moving on. Loads of studies around obesity are actually extremely fat-phobically biased. Studies have actually counter-proven this lack of causality between fatness and unhealthiness. Okay, I'm sorry, I know I keep stopping in between, but this just caught me. And unhealthiness. This isn't something that general studies would use. They wouldn't use unhealthiness because it's too vague. Like, what markers of being unhealthy were they actually looking at? If you're saying there's loads of studies around, then chances are there's at least a common thread of what they actually look like. It's not just fatness and unhealthiness. They wouldn't use fatness and they wouldn't use unhealthiness as their terms for the study because those are too vague. They would probably, for fatness, they would probably use the BMI to look at overweight and obese individuals. But unhealthiness could be a variety of things. What is the level of stress that their body could handle? Meaning, like, what vigorous activities can they do? Their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their A1C levels. I don't know. Like, produce some citations, please. Some studies have also proven that losing weight does not fix health problems supposedly caused by weight. That's the exact opposite of everything I've ever heard, but granted, I haven't looked at official studies and I'm getting the sense that you have not either. Not to forget that it is very difficult, almost impossible, to not yo-yo when attempting to lose weight, which is more unhealthy than staying at your current weight. Again, citations, please, and 2, I'd like to know your definition of yo-yo, because that's not a scientific term. What is your definition of yo-yo? Because I think for weight loss, it's not unusual, especially as you start going down to, like, fluctuate within 5 to 10 pounds based on whether you had a good week or a bad week, or did you take in more sodium than usual, or if you're a woman, are you close to your period, that sort of thing. And, like, there's just weeks where you fuck up. Like, it's part of losing weight is you are learning to change your habits, and with that education of changing your habits, you're gonna make some mistakes. That's just the natural path of it. So basically, most fat people don't have a choice but to try and be healthy at their weight. But also, it doesn't mean that they cannot be healthy, whatever the means. I use the word healthy here to simplify, but you need to be specific, as it is a very general term. Just leave fat people alone. Interesting, honey. Oh, I'm so worked up now. I am so irritated. I use the word healthy to simplify, and but you need to be more specific, as this is a general term. You mean like fatness and unhealthiness? Oops. I'm so irritated. Like, oh my god. fucking pot meat kettle. Oh my god, I'm so irritated right now. I agree. Healthy, unhealthy, fatness, these are all vague terms when we are talking about scientific studies, and they are not used in scientific studies. And we should probably be, just in our conversation about this, a bit more specific about what we mean. Do we mean BMI? What are the measures of healthiness that we are referring to? Blood pressure, cholesterol, A1C levels, the maximum heart rate someone has doing a moderate level of exercise, or like not maximum, but like the average heart rate level of someone who does a moderate level of exercise based on whether they're a healthy weight or they're overweight. Like, I agree, we should be more specific. And given that you're the one that keeps saying all the fucking studies in the fucking world, like, how about you fucking cite some? How about you fucking cite some so that we can have an actual conversation? Or are you just giving, like, stupid fucking vague answers because you don't have shit? Oh my god, I'm sorry. I got so worked up over this. I'm just so irritated. And also that even if fat caused health problems, there is still no weight loss method to date that 1, works, and 2, doesn't cause worse health risks, including a high risk of heart failure. It's not just you it doesn't work for. Less than 5% of people who diet ever maintain the weight loss they achieve, and those who do maintain it often develop serious health problems from continuous starvation, which can and does lead to death. It's definitely not a case of not doing it right because it doesn't work. Honey. Honey. So I know this 5% is from that 95% of people who try to lose weight aren't able to keep it off over the course of, 3 or 5 years, something like that. I still don't know what study that supposedly came from. It's never fucking cited. I know that that's the general, like, that's like the big picture claim of it. This 5% shit, I think, comes from that. But I don't remember it mentioning anywhere of a high risk of heart failure. I'd like to see some fucking citations on that. Number 1. Number 2, those who are able to maintain develop serious health problems from continuous starvation. It's not starvation. The body adapts to lower levels of calories by losing some weight, and that doesn't mean the person is starving. You can eat, depending on your activity level, you can easily eat 1,500 calories a day and it be enough for you. That's not starvation. That's just someone with a smaller body and leaner body mass having this enough calories to maintain their weight. Like, it's not... And I'm really... They don't cite anything. I want to know where this claim comes from. You liars! Sorry. Firstly, obesity is a social construct and not a legitimate disease because things like genetics, metabolism, muscle, and bone density were never considered when the term obesity came out, and the BMI is not an accurate measurement of health as it is centered around Eurocentric bodies. Alright, we're going to take this one tweet at a time. Obesity isn't a social construct. Like, the word obesity is, like, the specific weight classifications with certain cutoffs is kind of a social construct, but someone being massively big for their frame and being too big to be healthy, I don't think is a social construct, because you can tell that just by looking at them, and you can tell that they're more prone to disease because they breathe heavier, because they tend to, like, people that are morbidly obese tend to smell. And I don't mean that in a shitty, mean way. I mean, they have so many skin folds that breed bacteria, and they often get rashes and stuff in between them. They tend to smell, which would naturally cause more people to stay away from them. Also, the fact that they are so big means that they are taking more food out of a communal offering, like, I'm trying to think of this in terms of, like, evolutionary perspective, to get rid of this social construct thing. But if you see someone who is massively overweight, and let's say we're all in the same space eating from a communal pot, then you know that that person is taking more than their fair share for the rest. So that probably wasn't a great example, but that's the best I can do. If someone has a better example, please put it in the comments. Of course, this will likely get dismissed because when fat people try educate people about their socially constructed false beliefs, we aren't taken seriously. But you would think we know more about body and fat politics than other people, since our bodies are always the focal point of discussions. Okay, that's... What? You would think we know more about body and fat politics than other people, because our bodies are the focal point of discussion. No, just like, so I'm going to use a personal example. I have PMDD, and I don't think that I know necessarily more about PMDD than anyone else simply because I have it. I don't research it. It's something that I simply live with. I can give a perspective on the experience of a person with PMDD, but that doesn't mean that I know more about PMDD or feminine health politics. That doesn't mean I know any of that. That's a very dumb equivalency. Secondly, I have never once met a fat person who promotes obesity. If by existing you are implying that I am promoting obesity, then that sounds like a you problem. Fat people are allowed to exist in their bodies and do not owe anyone health. Okay, so a good portion of the promotes obesity thing is from the encouragement of people to just eat in excess. But for me, the biggest form of promoting obesity is when your former fat idols like Adele and I want to say it's Rebel Wilson, right? The woman who played Fat Amy. When they lose weight, you guys attack them for losing weight. That is promoting obesity because you are actively against people losing weight, meaning you want them to stay fat. That is promoting obesity. It's promoting obesity. Oh my god. It's just, that is promoting obesity. You guys simply putting shit on TikTok saying, I'm a fat person existing, and dancing in your underwear. Like, there's a reason why I don't typically comment on those, because there's nothing to really say. If they want to say I'm just a fat person existing and dance in their underwear and post it on TikTok, that's their prerogative. They're not making particular claims, so I leave them alone. That's very different from people attacking people that are losing weight. There's a difference. Thirdly, this is such an ableist take, lol. Thin people will talk about health, but fail to see how they also have very unhealthy behavior. It just isn't as visible on their bodies. Thin people eat more junk food than fat people do. I don't see us caring about their health. So, first, citation needed on this thin people eat more junk food than fat people do. Like, definitely there are thin people that eat like shit. I'm not saying that there aren't. But just from volume, I guess fat people can eat moderately well and it just be their portion sizes, but in general, the way that you get to be morbidly obese is by eating high calorie food, which is typically junk food. It's typically food that's greasy and high in fat and high in sodium, or high in sugar, like McDonald's and fast food and junk food and fat and easy like convenience foods. So citation needed on that. And I'm not saying that thin people don't have unhealthy behavior, but when we're talking strictly in the form of weight loss and weight management, thin people generally, at the very least, are better at moderating their food intake Now, whether they have unhealthy behaviors to go along with that, I don't know. And I think it would be worth having a study of just a random selection of thin people and fat people, and really like monitoring, like the Secret Eaters. I really want to watch Secret Eaters. I've been meaning to watch that, and I started watching episode 1, and I thought it was so good, and just the premise. And part of me's like, I'm going to do a reaction to it, but I haven't decided whether I should do a reaction to it or not. And so I'd love to hear your opinion on that. But I lost track of what I was saying. My point's gone out the fucking window. My point has left the building. I think it's time to stop because all my fucks have blown away. So we're gonna just end it here. I do want to take a moment again to thank everyone who has subscribed to this channel, commented, liked, watched my videos. Like, thank you so much. I have a couple of different ideas still for this channel, and I'm thinking of creating like a little mascot that changes as my channel changes and maybe as I lose weight. Oh, weight loss update. Unfortunately, I gained a pound back, and I know why. It's entirely my fault. I was on vacation this week, and I did not log my food. So clearly I ate all that work gone. I'm a little irritated. I'm back up to 190. I don't like it. So back on the weight loss train I go, and I really need to work better on staying on top of logging my calories, because I know once I log my calories, I do very well. It's a matter of the consistency of logging my calories. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.